today, coming in hot. Hi. There's no Libby. You can tell that. I often wave at the camera and then we make fun of ourselves.
We
for
have to
waving at the
wave.
camera. I don't know. It's really not that big of a deal, but it's just become a thing now. So
it's a whole thing.
Hi, welcome back. This is my friend Laurel. My friend Laurel is saving my life today by recording a podcast with me at the last minute that I definitely remembered was due out.
But it's actually perfect because you gave me not too much time to
like obsess about it.
Prepare exactly and like the anticipation get to me, but just enough time for me to prepare some answers and also shower and look like a human being because I'm in my cave troll era and
yes,
don't look presentable.
I hear the era. Yeah,
most of the time.
So. I try to, put on clean clothes when I come here. It works almost all the time. So thank you for being here, though. We are going to do an interview today with Laurel, who let's see, you guys have been in Weatherford maybe about 5 years now? Is
almost
it
to the day.
Yeah, I was going to say it recently. So we're just going to jump in because if I'm not careful, I'll ask you all kinds of questions that aren't on my list because
that's okay.
Laurel and I are friends and we could sit here and do this for hours.
I apologize in advance for...
We do not.
For this.
We don't apologize.
Also the fast talking that's going to happen.
Just listen fast. And sometimes we'll take a breath. Okay, the first question, first rattle out of the box. How old are you?
I am 35.
35.
Not a prime number.
It is not.
Nope.
Divisible by 5 and 7.
And 7, yep.
Wow.
35, settling into elder millennial.
Yeah.
Is that midlife? Yeah.
I don't know. But Jeff and I have the conversations about what is like early 30s, mid 30s, late 30s.
I feel like I'm in the mid 30s now.
35 is right in the middle. I feel like that
there.
One's hard to negotiate on.
So
he likes to negotiate.
Yep. 35.
Okay. It's a good age.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. First of all, we're going to kind of skip ahead because you have a whole, Laurel has, I'm supposed to say the words multi-generational. Multi-gen. Shout out to Multi-Gen Podcast. Laurel has many generations of her family at Northside or have been at Northside. So we're going to cover that for a second because the connections, many of which I don't think that I know. I think I know some, like I know your grandparents, who your grandparents were, but I think there's connections that I don't know. So she's going to tell us now who she's related to.
There's a lot. So my grandparents, Penny and Belle Stone, a lot of people will recognize that name. Even if you didn't know them, I know that people still talk about them.
Of course.
All the time. So
precious.
I'm the youngest of the youngest. So my mom is Tammy Clay. Dad is Phil Clay. So yeah, Tammy's the youngest of 9 girls. 9 girls. 8 of them are still living and 5 of them live here in Weatherford.
Wow.
4 of them are here at Northside. So,
wow. Okay.
Gay and Tom Steen. Gay also goes by Gigi. She is in childcare frequently.
Oh, okay.
And so that's where most people are going to know her. Yeah. She's great with the kids.
You've talked about your Aunt Gay a lot.
She's wonderful.
In that context.
And then Sandy Tuttle is...
I knew. See, Jeff said that and I was like, what? Sandy. Okay. Okay.
She and my mom look so much alike.
Yeah.
And the older they both get, the more they look alike. Like my Aunt Sandy came around the corner the other day and I almost called her mom. I was like, whoa, I haven't seen that till that moment. So her daughter is Pam, my cousin. So Pam and Dave Hinshaw, related to them.
Yep.
So there's
We've known them for
multi-generations. Their kids, Hannah, Peyton, Harper.
Yeah.
So
wow.
There's 4 generations right there.
Goodness.
That were, from
have been come up through
the
ranks here.
And then most recently, Georgia Sullivan and Shelby Sullivan, they just moved here from, I feel like I should know this. It's either Grapevine or Garland.
One of those G's toward Dallas. Yeah,
over there.
East.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So they're here now. Oh, happy to have them. They actually live in the same neighborhood as Pastor Jim.
Okay. Oh, very nice. Gosh, things get so small when you start talking about those connections, don't they?
Yeah, wow. There's a lot of us. in
Okay.
this church.
See, I knew I would learn something new, and I did.
So that's how I
did.
ended up here at Northside.
Yeah. Because you and Josh, Laurel's married to Josh. How long have y'all been married?
Oh my goodness. We just had October was our 13th anniversary. Been married.
Okay.
So coming up
on 14.
14.
Been a minute.
We were
you guys
babies.
moved here from
Oregon. Yes.
5 years ago.
Yes.
They are transplants that
We
we're
are.
very grateful for. You've managed to stay, which, I mean, thank you. It's been good for us. Okay, so now that helps me because there's lots of people who have those, different generations come through Northside and various ways. So
yeah, I've been visiting a long time. Josh and I met at teeny tiny Bible school on the coast of Oregon called Ecola Bible School, which is named after Ecola State Park, not to be confused with Ebola or E. coli.
Both bad associations.
Both bad things, yeah.
Okay. This is a good one.
Different one.
But Ricola, which is a great cough drop, I hear.
It is.
So,
yes.
So good connection.
Ecola Bible School. When I was at Ecola, I would have, Christmas break. And I would come here because my parents are here half of the year. So I was born and raised in Alaska. And so they're in Alaska in the summertime. Mm-hmm. They've got it figured out. They're escaping the Texas heat.
I call them snowbirds.
Snowbirds, yeah. So they're snowbirding. They're heading out in a couple weeks, unfortunately. I'm always sad to see them go. And then they're here in the wintertime.
Oh, maybe they're the opposite of snowbirds.
No. You right? Leave the north
when it gets too
when
cold.
It's cold. Yep. So basically they are in the same migration pattern as the sandhill cranes.
Oh.
So they'll actually land, the sandhill cranes land in Homer, and we'll see them flying from Mexico overhead here.
Wow.
It's crazy. So they're like, we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Oh, the cranes.
It's ridiculous.
That's sweet. I love that. Okay.
Wow.
So much history there.
Yep. So grew up in Alaska, went to school at Oregon Coast, Ecola Bible School, was visiting here 2010, 2011.
Yeah.
And then Josh and I got married 2010. Oh, I guess 2009. Doesn't matter. We got married 2010. And then, so we've been visiting Weatherford for a long time.
Yeah.
Long time. And never thought I would move to Texas. I said it multiple times. I was like,
I'm sure plenty of people have said it.
I'm a Pacific Northwest girl through and through. And never say never. God has a very funny sense of humor. He's like,
yeah,
what's that about?
Joke's on you.
Joke's on you.
Yeah.
Plans. Oh. Plans are funny. So yes, we moved here 5 years ago. We left Shift River April 1st, 2019. So thankfully we were here through 2020. Yeah. And near family, which was needed.
Yeah, necessary.
Yep, very necessary.
Oh, man. It feels somehow like I've known you much longer than that, but also I know that's just not factual.
We've done a lot of life in those
that
5
is
years.
True. We've fit a lot in, haven't we?
Mm-hmm.
Whew.
Mm-hmm.
Man, and how. Okay, so going backwards a little bit, my questions are never in a good order.
That's okay.
Tell me how you came to be in a relationship with God.
It feels very much like what every woman has said here, basically. It's just that classic, vanilla Christian story. Grew up in the church.
Yeah.
Accepted the Lord into my heart when I was itty bitty. Don't even remember it, but my parents told me, just always been in relation with him. And I don't think it became my own until I went to Ecola.
Yeah.
And I just remember Galatians wrecking me in the best way possible. Right. So Ecola had a really interesting setup. We would have 2 different teachers every week, and we would have 3 lectures a day. Wow. So you cram 7 years of church into 10 months.
Wow.
It's real intense.
Yeah.
It's great. But you don't really get to know the teacher because they're there for such a short amount of time.
They change so quickly. Mm-hmm. Okay.
But the teacher for Galatians, it wasn't until Thursday that it clicked.
Yeah.
I grew up in a really legalistic church, and being a control freak in healing and process, trying to get over that. In recovery, I guess.
Yeah.
Control freak in recovery.
Yep.
And so, he just kept repeating the same thing over and over again. And I remember thinking, okay, this is kind of silly. Like, when's he gonna say something else?
Something new?
And then
Something
it clicked.
different?
He just kept saying, like, there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do. That's what has stuck in my mind all these years. And so, yeah, super legalistic. I like to check the boxes, I like a
Yeah.
formula. And so the relationship wasn't really my big emphasis.
Yeah.
It was just like, oh, I'm journaling every day. I'm reading my Bible every
Doing
day.
the things I'm supposed to do.
Exactly.
Sure.
Checking off the list.
Yeah.
It's great. And then I realized, oh, there's nothing I can do. Huh.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Because it finally clicked for me. Like, I definitely believed, like, there's nothing I can do to make God love me less. I knew
Mhm.
that. Like, I knew that was solid and sure, but I didn't realize I believed subconsciously there's stuff I can do to make him love me more.
The opposite too.
Yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, that's
Oh.
what you're getting at. That's what you're meaning.
That's a
So
big one. Wow.
So yeah, Thursday, it just hit me like a ton of bricks. And then I honestly don't remember the lesson on Friday. I think I was just like reeling
In
the chair.
awe.
Yeah, I was
Sort
just
of.
like,
Oh, wow.
my life is a lie, and everything just kind of came crashing.
In shock. Oh, I mean, but really, like, you say it's vanilla, but I think there's something so special about those stories of like my family and, you have generations of faith that
Mhm.
led to the point of you not having to go through your life not knowing who God was. Like, I
Absolutely.
think that's beautiful too. So
I'm so thankful for that, to not have the baggage or
you have to
the damage.
do it the hard way
Yeah.
necessarily, which I mean, I know it happens that way a lot. There's nothing we can do about that. But I mean,
Mhm.
there's something really beautiful about a family saying, like, we want you to always know.
Yeah.
It's not that you won't go through stuff, but we want you to always know who God is. And that's, I mean, yeah, that is something to be grateful for. I am too.
Mhm.
I'm vanilla too. But now that I'm older, I'm like, oh my goodness, thank you, Lord, for
Yeah.
like grandparents and parents who cared enough to make sure that I knew who God
Mhm.
was from a young age. Like, it's a blessing.
It feels like a kindness for sure.
Yeah, especially with how hard the world is.
Mhm.
So, okay, let's see. I know I get into the question and then I'm like, what are we doing now? What is it? Okay, so we know a little bit about your history attending Northside. I assume when you guys moved here, did you connect pretty quickly here at Northside, or did you
fun story.
Okay,
This is
I'm
good.
making assumptions.
Back in Hood River, we were at a very small church, maybe 200 people,
Yeah.
and Josh and I were very involved. He was a deacon. I
Mhm.
was the worship team director,
Yeah.
and we were so burned out.
Yeah.
And I loved singing. I still do, but it was just a lot.
Yeah.
80% happens to the 20% of the team, and
Right.
80% of the people do 20% of the work, that type
Right.
of thing. So we definitely needed a break,
Mm.
So we intentionally talked about that before we moved. And we knew we wanted to land at Northside just because we knew
A
my
lot of
family.
connections,
Yeah.
obviously.
And so we told each other, like, no small groups, no ministry. Like, we would just like to be anonymous for a year,
Mhm.
is what we had talked about. And I did not last that long. It was like 3 months, and I was like, I need people.
Yeah.
Because that's where the connections happen. Like, this
Yeah.
church is so big, and the double services, like, people are in and out real quick,
Right.
which is not what we were used to back in
Sure.
Oregon. Like, people hung out and
Yeah.
talked afterwards and like, let's go get lunch. And there's none of that. So I was like, I desperately need community, and wasn't finding it anywhere else. Of course, like, making friends as an adult is a challenge.
Hard.
And it's rough. And in the meantime, we were remodeling a house while we were living with my parents. So it's like we were busy, we didn't really have any spare time to try to find any other friends. And so I was the one who gave in first, I guess. I was like, so I know we said a year.
I feel like Josh could go a bit longer.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Josh is very private, very reserved, and like, he doesn't need a lot of friends. Yeah, he's like, I have you. Who else do I need? I'm like, that's really kind.
You were like, okay, though. I And, it's not like you have to lead a group, but you just
Correct.
decided to try to find a group. Like, it's
So
time.
we went to 2 Sunday schools back to back, actually in the same room.
Wow.
Yeah, because we looked at the list that the
Yeah.
church had provided, and it's one that doesn't even exist now.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you who
No
led
telling,
it.
yeah.
It was like 3 of us in there that first morning. It was kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And then I was like, let's just stay here because the next one is One Life.
Yeah.
And haven't left.
Good
Courtney
for One Life.
Courtney was the first person to
Yeah.
come up and introduce herself, and then Garrett was shortly behind her.
I need the extroverts.
Oh,
Please come to
man.
church, extroverts.
And then I think Sarah and Robbie McDonald
Yeah.
were next. And One Life was a lot smaller then, and it's huge now.
grown a lot.
It's huge, yeah. So we found our Tuesday group there as well, and
the rest is
Haven't-
history, as
haven't
they
left.
say. I mean, isn't it crazy how fast things change, though? Like, One Life has changed so much, and different seasons, people have come and gone and moved away, and so it's wild. It's always changing, which every time that happens, I like mentally drag my feet, like, meow. But then, like, we have these beautiful new couples in our group that, we're making these connections with and getting to do life with. And every time it happens and I get to know those people, I'm like, oh, I can't imagine my life without them. And so every time I'm like, be a friendly person, say words out loud to other people, introvert, go do it. And it's always worth it. But
it is. It's just hard.
Yeah. That's why we need the Fabulous Four. People like the Fabulous Four. Like, come and talk to people.
Yeah.
So
Please
the
do.
rest of us can be like,
Please do.
in the corner. Except we'll try to. So tell me about where might we find you at Northside? Like, what things besides you come to Tuesday nights, obviously.
Nights. Yes, we're there Tuesdays. I love our rotation that we have. We take turns doing food and who's leading, which is really nice. And it's never like you have to lead to be part of this group. It's like if you feel led to lead.
Yeah, if you'd like to be involved in one way or another. Sure.
So I love that format that we have. And then on Wednesday nights, I'm at Hearts Like Hannah's.
Yeah, a very sweet group.
Very, yeah. It's been funny to like go back and listen to all the podcasts. I'm like, I know like all these women.
I know. There's so many I don't know, and that's the connection.
Yeah.
Like,
Brittany, Julian.
Yeah.
Selah.
Of course.
Melissa.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, man.
And then Madeline is in our Tuesday group. So
yes.
Like, you've basically just interviewed like all my friends.
I pretty much just interview my friends, especially when I, like wake up in crisis at 1 a.m. and go, I have a podcast episode due that I don't remember. Oh, things that are important can slip your mind sometimes. It's just human. We have a lot going on in life.
True.
So,
yeah.
Okay. So now we go a little deeper. What has God been teaching you lately? A big question.
Yeah. I never know how to answer that question. Because sometimes I have a hard time seeing the big picture.
Yeah.
Oftentimes I have a hard time seeing the big picture. I'm very much detail oriented, like zoom in and then zoom out, Yeah. And so often when people ask me that, I just freeze. I'm like, I don't know. Let's be real.
It's a tough question. And it comes in many forms.
It does.
And you're like,
I wish I could tell you.
Yeah.
I feel like I have found a few good answers, but that's usually what comes to my mind. It's just like, I wish I could tell you what God's trying to teach me right now.
Yeah.
Because we've been through the ringer the last 5 years since we moved here. Like even before then, things were hard. But it's been the hardest years of our lives being here.
And one hit after another at times. Yeah.
Yep. Just been through the meat grinder.
Yeah.
And so it can, I don't know, sometimes like you've seen me through so many meltdowns.
Same.
So sometimes I'm like, okay, is this like attack after attack from the enemy? Or is this the Lord like stripping things away? Like it's so hard to tell the difference between them sometimes. And I don't feel like it's God punishing me or anything like that. I have never felt that, but it can definitely feel like, okay, Lord, what are you trying to teach me through this?
Pruning or challenging.
Yeah.
We know that he does those things.
Yeah. And I remember even teaching on that once. It's like, how can you tell the difference because they can look really similar.
practically, like the circumstances can look the
Mhm.
same, but you don't know
Yeah.
often what the purpose behind them is.
Yeah.
Like,
Is it the Lord like taking away something that's
right.
hard?
Him intentionally doing that.
Right. Or is
Or-
it like, I have better things for you and
Yeah.
we need to direct you to this way?
Yeah.
And in those moments, it's so hard to tell. And sometimes we may never find out, honestly.
Sure.
Like
Yeah.
on this
Not
side,
here.
on this
Yeah.
side of heaven, we may never have the answers,
Yeah.
which drives me nuts. But
No.
here we are. And yeah, so it's hard to know. It's hard to know sometimes what the Lord is trying to teach me. And so I just have to stand there with my hands open. But so that's like my first gut response is, I don't know. I have no idea. I wish I could tell you.
I'll try to put a few thoughts together.
Right.
Like you said, string a few things together. Oh man.
But I think it was a conversation with you. You
Yeah.
came over to my house. You brought me a plant. It was just a kindness to my soul. But I think I had this revelation moment where I was like, I kept asking God, like, you are not surprised by these hardships. I don't feel like you're necessarily causing them to happen,
Yeah.
but you're not surprised by them.
You
So
know.
you could prevent them from happening.
Mhm.
You could create a little bubble around me
Yeah.
and like give me a perfect little happy
You have
life.
that choice. You could do that power.
Yeah.
Sure.
He's capable of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I definitely realized like, ooh, I'm kind of mad. I'm angry that you haven't prevented this little perfect life that I want, just pain-free. I'm like, I don't want like this amazing.
Sometimes it feels like I'm not asking
I'm
for
not
much.
asking for much. I just want to be comfortable.
Yeah.
And which sounds like a lot these days.
That's true. Oh.
So
Hmm.
I realized like I'm mad that you haven't provided comfort for me.
Yeah.
And so I've realized like, ooh, I'm putting like comfort above everything else. Like that's that's what he's pruning. That's what he's pruning away. And I don't like it.
No.
I don't like the lesson that I'm learning, Amy.
No.
It's awful. So I just remember that moment with you. I was like, I kept asking God, like, please just let life be easier.
Yeah.
Can you just let things ease up a little bit?
Yeah.
And I just remember, and it may have been like my negative Nancy tendencies, but it was like, I'm not going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I will give you the strength that you need to get through these things. And he's done that time and time again.
Yeah. Very faithful.
Yeah. He's never been like,
good luck.
have fun. You're on your own, kid. Like it's never been that. It's all these little beautiful moments that he's like, I'm still right here. Yeah. I'm still here. I got you.
The glimmers.
Mm-hmm. The glimmers.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's beautiful.
That's one of them. I think
that's such a good thought process that, I call it like, I think I use the verbiage like nothing gets to me that hasn't passed through his hands. He knows he has the power to do anything he wants or to cause or prevent. If he doesn't, then can I trust that there's purpose? Do I know what it is? More often than not, no. But like you said, as someone who likes to feel like I'm in control, I would like to know. But he also often goes, no, not that either. You just have to trust, which is hard.
It's really hard.
But it's a good exercise in like learning just to give everything over to him. I feel like there are times that, he's nearly like, how often, like how many times you need to learn the lesson that you're not the one in control.
When people are like,
it's a little rude, but all right.
What's God teaching you right now? I wish I could tell you so that I could finally learn the lesson.
Be done with it.
I got it. I've learned my lesson. Please move on to something else.
I've heard that so many times from people in counseling. They're like, what is it? I'll learn it. I'm like,
just tell me what it is.
If it were that, and even in that moment, we're like, let me control how this goes. I'm like, oh, sorry. It's just not going to work out that way, probably.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, wow.
So
that's a good one.
It's like every level of our lives, it's like comfort after comfort is being stripped away. And It's uncomfortable.
Yeah. It's a lot of like reliance, full reliance on the Lord for his provision, his safety, comfort, like all those things. Yeah. Some things we take for granted even, but
For sure.
okay, that's a good one. It's a good one. See, now I can remember. Oh, look what happened. There's no questions here. I don't know what happened. I
deleted them.
Started a new note. It doesn't matter. It's fine. I know the next question. What is a very good piece of advice? We always ask it. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
I actually like this one.
Hard one to say, like, for sure. But what's a really good piece of advice that you've received?
Circle back. Control freak. Surprise, surprise. I can also really struggle with anxiety and spiraling thoughts, worst case scenario.
Sure.
So my sister-in-law, Stephanie, love her dearly. She's Josh's youngest sister. She lives in Kentucky. I hate that she's so far away. She told me, like, hey, you keep asking, like, what if? You keep assuming the worst is going to happen. Yeah. Twist it. Ask, even if this terrible thing happens.
Yeah.
Even if God is still good.
Yeah.
Even if fill in the blank.
Let's say that worst thing came to fruition, which it rarely does. But let's say, since you're so creative, your brain can think of so many bad things. Let's say it does.
Why don't we think of the good things that happen, And I've applied that to not just personal life, but also my business, which has been really helpful. So it's like, even if fill in the blank, even if worst case scenario happens, like, guess what?
Very helpful.
Things are still good. Like, find those happy things. So I'm in the process of trying to like retrain my brain to see the good things, which not fun.
There are so many of them. And also, the realities we live in a world that's fallen and that's broken. And,
it's very true.
It's kind of like landmines. We can't ignore, we talk in therapy sometimes about toxic positivity, like everything's fine. And I'm like, clearly everything isn't fine, but also there is good to be found. There's beauty to be found. And that's something that God gave humans the ability to do, is to find that nuance that he didn't give the rest of creation the ability to do. And, sometimes we don't use that so well. So it's a good piece of advice. Stephanie.
Stephanie. Yeah, I wish she was closer.
No, Kentucky.
She's lovely. And she's got a scripture-based heart. Yeah.
We all need those people.
Oh, man. I love her. I'm so thankful she's my sister-in-law. Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay. Our last question is a catch-all. Libby always says that if you could gather all the women of Northside in a room and tell them something, what would it be? But is there anything else?
I do love that phrasing of the question. I'm like, okay, I have multiple answers for this one. If it was Libby's form, where it's like, okay, gather everyone. And it's like, this is the advice that I always, or not advice, like, this is what I need to hear frequently.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at you, kid. You're doing great. Cheering you on. Not saying like, you're doing wonderful, everything's in your power, but it's like, you're doing the best that you can.
Yeah.
I was having a meltdown with my small group at Hearts Like Hannah's several months ago. And Ashley James was in it, and she just reached over and she like patted my knee and she's like, you're doing a really good job. And I just started crying. I was like, I don't think you knew how much I needed to hear that.
As women, we just don't hear that much.
Well, just to ourselves, Yeah. So.
Yeah. We've held hands from time to time. Yes, we have. Yeah.
So.
It's a good one.
You're doing a really good job.
It's a good one. Yeah.
So that's the first one.
It's a good one.
I feel like I have more.
Okay.
Let's see.
She brought a few notes.
I
which
did.
Is really smart.
I always have.
Some people prefer it.
I don't want to feel rehearsed, but I'm like, I get it. It's a scatterbrain up here.
I get it.
Yeah. So yeah, you're doing a great job. Other notes. It's okay that you're a mess.
That can be true.
Yeah. Because I know that I can often like apologize to people like, oh, I'm so sorry that I
Yeah.
fill in the blank. Like I missed the deadline or that I dropped the ball here. And it's like, how often is someone actually mad at you for that? They're like, it's fine. You're
Yeah.
human.
Yeah.
It's okay.
They definitely aren't as concerned about it as you are, right? They're like, okay.
Worst critic, always,
Yeah.
across the board. Yeah. And yeah, it's okay if you don't have the answers. Yeah. And if you're struggling and if you're human, like,
kind of the whole thing, isn't it?
It's okay.
Kind of the whole bit, being human.
So same thing, like you're doing a great job with what you got, you know, but also like it's not on your own strength. You can like still gotta rely on the Lord. Like, what's that toxic lie that so many women have been fed lately? It's like, you're enough. It's like, you're not, but God is. So it's okay. As long as like you have your identity in him and not in your own strength. Yeah. That's the direction that you need to go. It's okay. All those cheesy cliche things, but that I know I need to hear more often than not. So,
well, and you said for a lot of us, our inner critic is the loudest, and so hearing that from someone we need to hear it. We need to say it. We need to practice saying it to each other so that we can learn how to say it to ourselves. Like all those things, especially as women. So. Yeah. That's what makes the women's podcast so unique. Jeff is in the room, so that was for him. Thank you so much, Laurel.
It was a pleasure.
Again, we could do this for hours, but we won't this time. I can't make any promises about the future.
Things I could talk about for hours. Coffee, because I was barista for over 10 years.
An expert.
Knitting.
An expert.
Been doing that for a long time. Plants. We could talk about plants for a long time.
Yes.
Yeah. Those are things that you could just pull me off in the hall and be like, hey,
really,
let's talk about this.
Yeah.
Basically any like old granny lady things.
Yeah.
Like,
and if you are looking for Laurel to like go find her, she will be knitting. So if you see a 30-something knitting, it's Laurel, which is helpful. So it's a good indicator.
Yep.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. We'll see you next time.